morning, everyone, and welcome to another live edition of Wealth Building Wednesday. Wealth Building Wednesday broadcasts every single Wednesday, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. And we rebroadcast our audio on our media partner, WBFZ 105.3 at 1:30 Central Standard Time across the Black Belt. So we are excited about all of the eyes and ears that are watching us every single Wednesday as we try to put the information and the people, the experts, people who know what they're talking about, put that information where the goats can get it, so to speak, so that everybody can understand that we're not speaking gibberish and using 13-letter words to describe everything, but we are putting the information where people can use and access the experts. So today is just like any other Wealth Building Wednesday. We're delighted to have an amazing guest today. We have with us Mr. Aaron Roper, who is a native son of Selma, Alabama, and an Army veteran. And we are going to be talking about retirement. I know that so many of us that may be tuned in and listening or watching may not be connected well yet, right, with retirement. Or you might have thought about it when you were applying for your job and made sure that they had retirement packages that were going to suit your needs. But we want to make sure that we're starting to have the conversations as early as possible, because retirement is an opportunity for us to actually live our best life, honey, when you don't have to worry about the 9 to 5 and you can do the things that you enjoy doing. Before we dive into our conversation, though, I do want to welcome you, Mr. Roper, and I want to encourage everyone, y'all, because we're broadcasting from Selma, and our community is experiencing in this moment difficulty. I'll say it like that. I do want to encourage everyone to do one thing today. Even if you don't start your wealth building journey today, check on your people. Whoever your people are, whether it's your children, your church members, a dear friend you haven't talked to in years, check on your people, y'all. It matters. Just take those 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 15 minutes, 2 hours to check on the people that you love, because we all really need to know that somebody, that anybody has our back and that we're loved. And so I do want to encourage everyone to do that today. Listen, wealth is not just about the cash in hand. Wealth is also about how you live your life and the people you're connected to. So all of us are connected to somebody. So consider yourself wealthy, and let's check on our people. So Mr. Roper, welcome to Wealth Building Wednesday.
Hello, Lydia. Hey, thanks for the invitation to Wealth Building Wednesday, and thanks for having me. I definitely want to offer condolences to all the families that are hurting at this moment, and then also to our community, because we all know that every day we are making an investment into our community, and it all starts with the kids. And when the kids are hurting, all right, our community is hurting, but we know that the great days are just around the corner when we take action in response to action.
Absolutely. And so as we have this conversation today, it is about taking action and taking action early. You and I have had several conversations about the topic of retirement. And really, you have some insight that I'm not really sure that a lot of us really consider when we think about living our best life beyond the 9 to 5. You know, some of us have become so attuned to the roles that we play on the job that we honestly, some of us just literally wouldn't even have an identity if it wasn't for our workplace, right? That we are so readily connected to the work that we do, as opposed to connecting and preparing for the future. And when I say living our best life, meaning that we're doing the work that we enjoy, if we choose to work, right? Because we could be working it on the French Riviera, depending on how well we plan for retirement, and being able to enjoy our years, not doing, the full-time 9 to 5, or 12 to 12 or 7 to 7, whatever your shifts are, doing the full-time work, the 40-hour work week grind. So why does preparing for retirement matter? Like, from your experience, like, what do you Why does it matter if we even bother to prepare for retirement?
Well, Lydia, it's very important to prepare for retirement. Retirement is something that we all want to achieve one day, and it means different things to everyone. And with that, when we get up in the morning, when we brush our teeth, I'm saying we're preparing to greet the world at that moment. And so we need to be able to greet our future. I'm saying our glory days. We want to have good glory days. As we transition on through our life. And so with that, I want to tell you that the number one thing we must do when it comes down to retirement is number one, we got to want retirement. Number two, we got to believe that we can retire. And then number three, we got to do something about it. All right. And I'll just share with you a few things that I've just kind of learned over time. And by no means am I expert, but these are some things that these are items that I've learned over time, and I continue to share with everyone. And because someone shared with me, said, Aaron, you're going to get old one day. You're not going to want to get up every day and keep going like you're going. So you're going to have to figure out what is next. But in figuring out what's next, I had to identify, okay, when is next and what is it going to take? All right. And Lydia, just to share a little bit, a long time ago, um, I served in the Army from 1996 to about 2017, and that's a little more than 20 years. And I was very fortunate to be able to serve for 20 years. Now, with that, the Army provides a pretty good retirement for those who serve. And they made it easy because I knew nothing about retirement. So they did it all for me. I just had to stay there for 20 years. And and if I was in charge of my own retirement, I want to be very clear. I would have messed it up because if
Wow.
I had what they saved for me, I probably would have used it in many other ways that I felt was better for me at that particular time.
Okay.
And so with that, so I just kind of got lucky. And but the number one thing I had to do was I needed to identify when I wanted to retire.
Hmm.
Now, my number was 40. 40 years old. That was my number, 40. When I see your facial expression, I assume it's because 40 years old may seem like a aggressive
The
retirement.
young. Yep. I think we are having some technical difficulties, but I am prayerful that Mr. Roper will be back with us in just a second. Y'all see that these can be some of the disadvantages to technology. Um, and so we definitely want to make sure that we reiterate some of the points that Mr. Roper was making, including having a timeline around our retirement. We have to make sure that we keep the end goal in mind as we begin to prepare for retirement. So, and that's really honestly with anything. We need to keep the end in mind. That's a part of Stephen Covey, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's one of the things that you see the end begin with the end in mind. So if you know that you want to retire, like he said, at 40, which sounds young, right? 40 years old and retired sounds very, very young. However, if that is the goal that you set, then you can begin to behave in a way that causes you to be able to do that. Because who doesn't want to enjoy their adult lives early? We lost reception, and I am hoping again that Mr. Roper is going to be back with us in just a second. Again, wanted to just make sure that we're reiterating some of the points that he made. He also is a veteran, so this is an amazing time for us to have this conversation with him, because having served in the U.S. Army, the Army is one of the branches of the U.S. military, and so Veterans Day is going to be celebrated on Friday, and so we're excited to have Mr. Roper here as an Army veteran who was sharing about his goal for retiring at 40. Now, and yeah, my facial expression was totally connected to the idea that sounds really, really young, but who doesn't want to enjoy so many more years of their life, 30, 40 years of just chilling, basically.
Yes, I totally agree. And so, and everybody thinks that that's a very aggressive goal. All right. And so, but you have to think about when are you the most driven in your life? I'm saying, when are you the most focused? When you have the most energy? And it's during those years. It's when you're 25, when you're 30, when you're 35, and you're driving toward 40, and life begins to get sweeter, because at 40, life kind of changes a little bit. And you begin to, instead of muscling through, then you start thinking your way through situations at that point. And so with that, the next thing I had to really begin to identify is, how much money do I really need per month? All right. And Lydia, I sat down and talked to a financial advisor. We all talk to our parents about finances and things like that. And one day I had to say, Mama, what's the most money you've ever managed at one time? It got quiet. All right. It stayed quiet for a while. And because she could not figure out what was the most money she's ever managed at one given time. And so we know in retirement, it seems like we need to create a large nest egg, and then we need to be able to manage that. And so I illustrate that only to say that, like, I love my mother, and she gives me great advice in many areas. But I had to go and lean on the expert financial advisor, and I went to a place called Edward Jones, and then they really sat down and talked to me about finances, the future, portfolios, and they broke it down in a manner that I could understand at that particular time. And so the question the advisor said is, Aaron, how much money do you need per month in retirement? I said, I need $1 million.
I know, right?
Yeah. And one of his next questions was, so Aaron, how long do you expect to live? All right. I began to look in the air, and I said, I want to live to be 100. So he said, $1 million is not going to cut it for you. And so from there, he set the tone of the conversation of, okay, looks at the car, looks at the house I live in, and then the costs that are associated with those. And then we begin to build real numbers. And when we built real numbers, we begin to break down how we can actually achieve that, achieve the number per month, and then it will help to drive what age you will actually stop working at. So So yeah. So I'll share with you, Lydia. For easy math, let's just use $48,000 a year for retirement. We'll just make it easy. $48,000 per year is about $4,000 per month. Okay. All right. And so there is a way to achieve this number and be able to retire if 48,000 is your number. We know that some people's number is going to be higher, some may be lower, but we're just going to use kind of 48,000 as a middle ground to begin to talk about how we can really achieve this. And Lydia, before I go on, can I ask if I can be invited back one more time in the future?
Yeah, look, absolutely. I don't think we've ever had a guest on Wealth Building Wednesday that just appeared one time. So yeah, they're always we have an open a welcome mat basically in front of the show just to make sure that people are able to share as much information as possible. And like what you're doing with this the math right of it all and helping us to understand, when we set and I talked about Stephen Covey and 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, knowing what your end goal is. So if your goal is to retire at 40, then like you said, walking back. And that really just ties into some things that we've talked about before with some of our guests with setting up spending plans or budgets. And budget is a curse word, so we say spending plans. Wealth Building Wednesday, we have spending plans, not budgets. Nobody wants to diet, but we have eating plans. So, like nutritional outlines. Like
I
so we
like.
want to make sure. Yeah. See, language matters. Language
I
absolutely matters.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so the reason I asked for if I could be invited back is so that today we can we'll talk about like just some
Yes.
foundational principles, and then we'll build and go to the advanced things like the true investing and the accounts and how to make them perform. But for now, I think if we set the foundation, then it will make it easy for us to number one believe that we can get started. And if we believe that we can get started, then we can begin to move, have some accountability, and then
Yes.
get into the advance. So
So I want to ask you this question though, because I know as we begin to talk about this foundation, when I talk to my mom about retirement, one of the things because she committed to working in environments that didn't necessarily have great retirement packages, I too have committed to the same thing. So I don't work for the government. If because that there was a time when working for the government was assured, like either you're going to the military, working for city, state, federal government, so that you can shore up a retirement plan that basically, like what you said, you don't have to manage. Like they manage it for you and set that money aside. So in saying that though, Social Security also is a part of what a lot of folks depend on in order to stabilize their life after working or during their retirement years. So what doesn't Social Security cover? Because I've also had conversations with folks about like, well, no, I work, but I do everything I do under the table. And it's like, but you do realize that you don't get any benefits when you do that. Right. So when you do turn 65 and you go to fill out your paperwork, they're gonna be like, Hoppo, who this person?
yes, I agree with you, and I'll tell you, let's definitely address that. And so, because you said a lot, and so the number one thing you said is that people will go and work for jobs that traditionally are known to have a good retirement.
Mhm.
All right, so what is a good retirement? Because it doesn't mean the same thing for everyone.
That's
And
true.
so, in sticking to our principle of $48,000, we'll just say if you work for an employer for 20 years and that retirement after 20 years would be $1,000 per month, is that good? I will say it could be good, or I'll say that it's not good by itself.
Right.
So just for the conversation today, I'll say $1,000 per month is good. All right. Now, as you're 25, 30, 35, 40, now you're very ambitious. And so sometimes you're going to take a job that's going to pay you way more. And so that retirement number, instead of it being 1,000, it ends up going up to 1,500 or $2,000 a month for the rest of your life. And Lydia, I like to call that money comes out of a bucket that will not empty. All
Hmm.
right. And so the Army managed my retirement for me. And in return, we know that the military will always be there. There will always be support for the military. So therefore, there will always be support for the military retirement program. And so I
Yes.
consider that to be a bucket that will never empty. Now, if I would be 100 years old, I would have got much more than about $5 million out of that particular bucket that don't empty. I
Hmm.
may not have ever saved $5 million, but through my service in return, that return on my time investment is going to give me, we'll just say for easy math, $1,000 per month.
Yeah.
All right. Now, as we're ambitious and we're making more money, we have the ability to contribute to a 401k plan. All right. And so we just talked about the employer retirement. Next, let's talk about what you can do. And so through your job, a lot of jobs will give you matching opportunities, but even if they don't, it's your retirement. So therefore, you should contribute to a 401k plan, and it doesn't just have to come from a job. The 401k plan can be through the bank. It could be through an insurance company, but you need to do it. And so there's a myth that I need to contribute $1,000 a month or $500 a month or $300 a month. If you go and sit down with a financial advisor, they will find a plan that will allow you to contribute what you can. If what you can contribute is $500 to get started and $50 a month, that's very good. Because Lydia, as we identify age, we need to identify the age in which we need to start working. All right, because you're going to do two things when you start working. When you start working at age 16, you're going to be working on the books, not under the table. You're working on the books. All right. And so as you're working on the book, you're contributing to your actual retirement at that point. So if you start at age 16, and using the analogy, I put $500 in, I put $50 in a month, and I do it for 20 years. Wow. I think I can hit my goal at 40 if I stay disciplined to that goal at $50 a month, and I'm pretty sure we can commit to $50 a month, for 20 years. The next thing that happens, Lydia, is you're going to be contributing to your Social Security. All right, I said it. Social Security. All right. There's a lot of people who will not agree with me on this particular statement, but I think that if we look in history, Social Security has always been there. All right. And we must vote to make sure that we keep it there.
Right.
And as we continue to contribute to Social Security, we need to make sure that we are contributing what we can. Our employer will naturally cut the proper amount of Social Security. All right. And if we contribute to Social Security over the course of about 20 years, and if your earnings are around $60,000 and you do it for at least 20 years, your Social Security benefits should be around $1,000. It could be more, it could be less, but it may end up around $1,000 per month. Okay. So, so far, Lydia, we talked about three things. We talked about the employer-sponsored retirement plan, right? $1,000. We talked about 401k, contributing for about 20 years and getting a return of about $1,000. And then we talked about Social Security and getting a return of about $1,000. That's about $3,000 per month. So it's 48,000. So that puts us around 36,000. All right. So we're only $12,000 off. Okay. There's 12 months in a year. If there's 12 months in a year, all I need to make is $1,000. Now, Lydia, you said that people work under the table. That's what you said.
Yeah, right. I did.
And if you really think, why do people work under the table? And why do people pay people to work under the table? It could be for many reasons, but the one common reason is that person is good at it. All right. It could be cutting grass. It could be cooking. It could be cleaning. It could be washing cars. It could be a multitude of those things. All right. Right. Now, Lydia, I call that retirement work. All right. Okay. Yes. And because it's something that that individual does well, they enjoy doing it and they continue to do it. Now, I would always tell people, even when you're doing this, even when you're working on the table, you should contribute to Social Security because one day, me as a painter back in the day, I did not like going up very high on buildings. All right. And then, but you have to climb a ladder, go up high, paint. But what I did not like is that one day, if the ladder gave way, I may fall and never be able to have the ability to go up there and paint. All right. I ask you to contribute to your Social Security because if you become disabled along the way, you contribute to that $1,000, that $1,000 per month, which is going to help you reach your retirement goal. So I would challenge everyone to log into www.ssa.gov and take a look at the retirement credits that you have contributed. And inside there, you'll see that if you retire today, well, it's going to outline what is your retirement age. So if you
Mm-hmm.
retire at age 62, you will get this amount. If you retire at age 67, you'll get this amount. If you wait till 70, you'll get this amount. But there's also another number in there, Lydia. And as we work underneath the table, this number could be very low. Or if
Mm-hmm.
we contribute, it could be appropriate for our lifestyle. There's a number that says, if you are disabled today, this is how much we will pay you for the rest of your life. It also says, if you have dependents, this is how much we will pay your dependents until they turn age 18 or 22. Bottom
Mm-hmm.
line is, if you don't contribute, then what's going to happen is life is going to get very hard. You're going to be in a challenging situation to where you can't climb that ladder and paint like you used to and earn at your max.
Right.
But if you don't contribute to the Social Security, then you're not going to get that return to allow you to have a good life at that point. So,
And so I'm really glad that you broke that down in the way that you did, because that is really a serious concern, especially in communities where um, job opportunities are not necessarily what folks would like them to be, especially where populations that are aging out have become accustomed to depending on or thinking that Social Security will amount to something that it is not, right? Because I know when I was growing up and watching my grandparents, you would think Social Security, at least I did, was good money, right? Because I never acknowledged, never really knew, that there weren't these, piles of money that they were coming out of. Never knew that we were poor, right? Like so, and
yeah,
so, because my grandmother, she would cook these big meals like almost every single day, and you could smell the food coming home, and feed more the people than the folks that are in the house, like feed in the neighborhood. And my grandfather would, go do work for people and not charge them anything, help folks build ramps onto their homes and things like that. So just being able to know that, Social Security can provide a fixed income that may be suitable for some folks' retirement. But honey, if you are averaging spending about $7,000 to $10,000 a month now while you're working, you better just log on to ssa.gov, right, to see where you stand. Because if a lot of what you're doing is under the table, and that includes small business owners who are not contributing, right? So I definitely want us, before we wrap up, I know our time is kind of short, but like small business owners, that includes that population as well, right? We've got to pay into that system.
yes. And Lydia, I'm glad you brought that up, and in a small business, it seemed like you charge a certain amount for your services, but are you charging enough so that you can contribute to Social Security for your employees, whether it's one employee or 50 employees? And it goes a little further. Small businesses are supposed to grow and become medium level and then large businesses. All right. But what happens when a small business goes in the opposite direction?
Mm-hmm.
If I was contributing, whether it's FICA to Social Security and also to unemployment,
Mm-hmm.
this would be this would help out the individuals that are working hard for us every day. If the business folds, they're able to draw unemployment until they're able to find another job that will pay them and so that they can so they don't have to take minimum work. They can actually get back into the workforce at the appropriate level.
Absolutely.
And Lydia, on that note, as we talk about numbers and how to really make this happen, we talk about retirement and going to see a financial advisor.
Mm-hmm.
So I encourage small businesses to go and see a accountant and talk to the accountant, lay your books out, as to what you're making, as well as what your expenses are. When your accountant lays it out, you will see it right in front of you, and it will help you to determine if you can give somebody a hookup when they small business or not, because you will
Mhm.
determine, are your profit margins at the appropriate level. And if they're not, then you can't offer discounts. Everybody wants to offer discounts, but when you're able to look at your income, your expenses, all in one place, as the accountant lays it out, it will help you to determine if you're making a good decision or a bad decision. And I want to share another thing. When it comes to retirement, yes, we'll have utility bills, we'll have a mortgage, maybe a car payment, and even some medication. But I've learned that there's really two things that's out there that will deter our plans. That's student loans, and
Mm,
then there are medical
mhm,
bills that we don't project for. And so another part of this retirement is making sure that you have the appropriate insurance in place, so that if there's a medical bill that ends up coming, your insurance will soften that bill, and that way it's very minimum, and then it doesn't throw you off of your retirement plan. And so if you're planning to live off of 48,000 and you get a $70,000 bill from the hospital, that could wreck your retirement immediately and force you back into the workforce. But if you get insurance, so that you can make sure you have the appropriate insurance, that could help you, and that will shield your retirement. That will keep you traveling. That'll keep you smiling. That'll keep you doing that work on the table, but really that retirement job that you enjoy doing, that produces the smiles.
Well, I am glad that we have had this opportunity to share this information with folks. I know that we have viewers who are tuned in and listening, honey. So we want to make sure that people are aware that he is coming back. We are going to continue this conversation. Um, Insurance being a part of our retirement plan, right? Considering the fact that if you're a small business owner, making sure that you're protecting your employees, right, with by paying into the Social Security system through FICA and unemployment insurance. Listen, and unemployment can actually protect you as an employee, because God forbid something happens and this person is let go and it prompts some sort of legal action, because you're not paying anything. Like, we've got to think about long term, right? Or what the potentials are. You want to expect greatness, and but be prepared for when times aren't so great. So I have to thank you, Mr. Roper, for joining us. I know 30 minutes flies. It really flies when you're having fun. And retirement should be fun. So this can be a topic that we can normalize in our community. And even talking about the next time we get together, talking about other ways to fund our retirement, whether it's real estate or investing in other small businesses, right? While you are at your prime, investing in businesses that will continue to pay off, and even the stock market. So if you're interested in any of all of that, make sure that you tune in the next time Mr. Roper is with us. But I do want to, again, thank you for being here with us for another episode of Wealth Building Wednesday. Thank you, the audience, for tuning in and joining us. If this is your first time joining us for Wealth Building Wednesday, we have tons of episodes you can go back and check out. We are soon to be loaded to all of your podcasting platforms. So we are super excited about all of the growth and the interest around building wealth. So in the meantime, before next Wednesday, you have 7 days to get it together. Y'all remember, check on your people, especially the people who come off as being the strongest people you're around, because strong people need to be checked on too. So y'all check on your people. And in the meantime, we got to get out here and start building wealth. Thank you for tuning in, and see you next Wednesday.